Day one of spring football, Adam, and we were kind of talking. I don't know if it sneaks up on us, but I'm never ready for day one because basketball's still going on. NCAA tournament this week. This is a massive week. If we're CU media, right? Because you got the men and women in the NCAA tournament. You got spring ball starting, and but it's a fun week.
It is, but to your point, it's hectic. Like this morning, there was a media window with Tad Boyle and the men's basketball program as they're getting on their bus to go out to Dayton to play Boise State. And I'm just keep looking at my clock, and as soon as Tad Boyle was done, I hit end record and ran to my car and got over here. And the funny thing is, it's always hard to predict when football is going to end, so ended up waiting for a while. But it was great to be back in the building, and we got a chance to talk to 3 new assistant coaches today, 2 players, and so we went from not having much access for interviews to having a ton today.
Yeah, and 2 new players as well. So Vincent Dancy was here last year, but he's in a new position. So it was great to get to talk to some guys that we haven't talked to in the past, and obviously their energy is high because spring ball is just starting. But I like this group. I mean, he's put together a staff that obviously he knows these guys, but it's various levels of experience. And starting with Vincent Dancy, I mean, he's been everything. Head coach, defensive coordinator, analyst last year here, and now he's in that coaching the edge rushers here. I think he's in one of the maybe underrated hires this offseason because of the experience he's had.
Yeah, I think when you promote somebody from in staff, you go, well, why don't you look outside? But then you look at his history, and not only a head coach, but a head coach at an HBCU that lacked resources. And that's partly how he and Coach Prime developed a great relationship, and part of why he got the opportunity to come out here to Colorado last year. And I think it also shows, though, that one, we know Coach Prime values relationships, and even Phil Lodeholt, who he didn't really have a prior relationship with, spent time with him down in Texas before he was hired. But it also shows that, if you wait your turn, you're going to be given your opportunity, and he kind of takes care of his guys. And so I think a little bit of a different personality than Nick Williams, who was a little bit more fiery, I feel like. But Vincent Dancy from the edge guys that we talked to last year has a lot of all the players on the team last year has a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, and he's also got a heavy background in the secondary, coaching secondary as well. So he's been all across the board, coaching things. So I think he brings in a great amount of experience. On the flip side, you have Phil Lodeholt, who's in that full-time coaching position for the first time. He just recently stopped playing a few years ago from the Vikings, retired I think 2016 or 17. He's been an analyst in college at Oklahoma recently. I think Mississippi State before that. So he brings in a different level of experience, but guys connect with him because he recently played.
Yeah, and I asked him about this. He really has seen college football from both sides of it. He was actually verbally committed to the University of Colorado as a high school recruit, ended up going to Garden City Community College, and every guy that plays at the JUCO level in Kansas tells you it's quite a humbling experience. And so he got that. Then he goes to Oklahoma. He's an All-American. He's a draft pick, plays in the NFL. So he's seen the game of football from all the different angles. And so I feel like that allows him to relate to what the starting left tackle is going through, but also what maybe some of the backups are dealing with as they're getting adjusted to this level.
Yeah, and then Jason Phillips, the receivers coach, is a guy that played with Coach Prime in the NFL, has coached with him, and is back coaching with him. He's had various levels of experience as well, even coaching in the CFL. Good personality as well. I enjoyed him.
Yeah, they've had their receivers coaches have seemingly always had great personalities here. And Jason Phillips has been preaching physicality with his group. That seems like every time we see him talk in a well-off media video or behind-the-scenes video, he's preaching that physicality. And so he's got a lot of talent in that room. And Omarion Miller's name came up a little bit, and he said that he's starting to fall in love with Omarion Miller. Obviously, the consistency piece was what was missing last season, but he was a true freshman. So just hearing his name come up a few times is intriguing here early on during spring ball.
Yeah, his name also came up when we talked to Preston Hodge, a transfer from Liberty, and that was the first name he came up with was Omarion Miller. Is like he's a dog, That's a guy I know CU fans are excited about with Omarion Miller, and that didn't temper today at all. The excitement's probably going to ramp up when you hear what Jason Phillips and Preston Hodge had to say. Preston, various different experiences in the secondary as well.
Yeah.
He loves playing that nickel spot. I would imagine that's where he's going to land with the Buffs, so even though he can play corner as well.
Yeah, and Liberty was undefeated until they lost to Oregon in their bowl game. And Preston Hodge, we talk about Pro Football Focus, and you got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but he graded out as their best defensive player last year. So this is one of those guys that you kind of bet on yourself now with the transfer portal and being able to go to the Power 5 level after having experience at a Liberty. And he does have that versatility. When he committed here, I think he was thinking he was going to be a corner, but yeah, a lot of that experience that he had at Liberty was at nickelback, and it sounds like Cameron Silman-Craig is probably going to play on the back end and it's safety as opposed to nickelback where he played a lot last year. And so finding a spot for Preston Hodge is going to be important, because I don't know if it's going to be definitely nickelback or cornerback, or he's even a guy in a pinch if the injuries pile up at safety could play there. I don't know where he's going to play, but Preston Hodge is going to play a lot of football for the Buffs this year.
Yeah, he's a guy you can't keep off the field, I don't think, especially or even with Travis Hunter, Cormani McClain, Omarion Cooper, all those guys in the secondary. That's a deep, talented secondary. Leonte Wester is another guy we talked to, another guy that I think CU fans are excited about. And, this is a guy that, one of the leaders in the country in receptions last year at FAU, but also an All-American punt returner. And so, he's a guy that I asked him about punt returning. He goes, well, I just have God-given talent there.
Yeah.
And he's shown it. And so, you watch him play, and, you could probably picture the gold and black on him and say, okay, that kid's going to be good.
Yeah, one of the things when I reached out to folks that had covered him out at FAU was they said that he's basically got rubber ankles.
Yeah.
And so that in turn breaks other ankles, because most guys don't have that ability, like Leonte Wester does. And you might see him around Boulder and not pick him out as a football player, definitely on the small end. But all you have to do is pull up some of his video from his time there. It's interesting. Preston Hodge is from Dallas, and Leonte Wester is coming from Florida. And it's always funny when the guys come in January and you talk to them in spring ball and they think it's just brutally cold here. It's like, just give it a few weeks. You're going to like it here.
Yeah. And they were talking about the dry air as well. That will not change. But, it will warm up for sure. And we're going to warm up. And, we got so much spring ball to do. So we're going to get out of here because we got a big media day with spring football on Wednesday. We'll be back to talk about that.